Hey everybody, welcome back. Apologies for the delay on videos here, just been really busy around the house. So tonight we're gonna make something really nice, bake this with your family. Good activity for kids to try. I'll throw mine in another cooking video today, I just need it myself. We're gonna be making some chocolate chip cookies. It's a little bit different recipe than say your townhouse cookies or your Toll House. This is gonna be using some fancy French terms. But to get us started, I've already washed my hands. I did the 15 seconds, everything. I haven't been handling things. So we're gonna need 2 bowls to start us off. Now, we're gonna go ahead and take our flour. This is all-purpose flour, AP flour. And we are going to need about 1. Okay. Make sure you get it nice and mounted, tap it down, scoop it off. Okay. 1 cup. 2 cups of flour, and we also need a 1/4 cup of flour. So this bowl is going to be for my dry ingredients. My liquid and ingredients and my sugar are going to be going into another bowl. And this little piece of equipment here, this is called an offset spatula. This is nice. Normally a palette knife or a spatula is straight across. This is a smaller one. Normally you'd see them, the big version. This is really good for cleaning, for getting into really tight cracks and things, between your oven and the counter, cleaning everything out. Okay, so we have our flour. Next up, we need some baking soda. Just your normal Arm & Hammer. This is good for odor remover. This is good for throwing in the fridge to absorb odors as well. And then there's a difference between baking soda and baking powder. Now, these are both leavening agents, so they're going to make things rise up through the production of CO2. Baking soda does not have an acidic ingredient inside of it. Baking powder has an acid into it, and double acting means that it works twice. So it starts reacting as soon as you put it in water, and then it starts reacting again as soon as you throw it in the oven. Now, since we're using baking soda tonight, we're going to need to add an acidic ingredient a little bit later. So for our baking soda, I need, double check that, 1 teaspoon. As always, make sure you level off your dry ingredients. Then, I also need some cornstarch. I know, I've never seen a recipe myself with cornstarch in it, but hey, I trust it. Let's see. And cornstarch is also good used as a thickening agent. You mix this with a little bit of water, you pour it in a sauce or something like that. The starch absorbs liquid, it binds it up, it gelatinizes a little bit, it makes your sauce thicker. So we need 1 teaspoon, as always, measure it off, and a 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, make sure this is the right one. So 1.5 teaspoons of cornstarch. Okay. That is all going in this bowl here. Let me grab my whisk. And we want to just mix this to combine it up. Okay? And this is making sure that all of my dry ingredients are evenly prepared and ready to go. Oh yeah, I also need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You always need salt when you're baking. It helps control flavor, it helps keep everything nice. So 1/2 teaspoon of salt going in. And then we're going to mix this up. Okay. So those are my dry ingredients for the recipe right now. Next up, we're going to start with our sugars and get our liquid ingredients going. So this is going to call for 2 types of sugar. We have our granulated sugar, just your white, processed, no molasses. This is the most heavily refined. And we're also going to be using brown sugar. There's a couple different types of brown sugar. You have light brown sugar, you have dark brown sugar. That's based on molasses content. There's still molasses inside of there after the first processing. Dark brown sugar, more molasses, light brown sugar or golden brown sugar is lower in the content. And when you're working with brown sugar, make sure you keep it in a airtight container so it doesn't dry out. But if it does happen to dry out, you can actually take it, throw it in the microwave for a little bit, or you can put a slice of bread inside of there. So. Okay, now this one we need 3/4 cup of brown sugar. And we're also going to be doing a packed brown sugar. If we end up with a little bit more, that's okay. So we're gonna pop this in here. See, it's nice, it's moist. There is a moisture content in there. Yeah. And we're just gonna kind of pack this in there. It says packed brown sugar. So if a recipe calls for it packed, take it, press it down until it fills the cup. See, we had that extra volume. Now we pushed out some of that air. Okay. So that's going in there. Okay. We also need some regular sugar, regular granulated sugar. I need a half a cup of that. Okay. We're just gonna pop this right in here. A little extra is fine. It's all good. Okay. And then, for our liquid ingredients, we're also going to need some egg yolks. These are gonna make sure that everything binds up. It provides texture, makes our cookie dough nice and soft when we mix it all together. Get all the extra sugar out of here. Again, always wipe it into your hand, never wipe it into the floor. You don't want to be sweeping. Okay? Throw that away. So I need 1 egg, whole. And then I need 1 egg yolk. So what we're gonna do is come over to the sink. And the quickest way I know to separate egg yolks, again, my hands are clean. Crack it right into your fingers. Let the egg whites drip down. Separate it out. Try and get off with some extra. It's fine there. And then we're gonna wash our hands again. Real quick. You do this so many times a day now. Everybody says wash your hands, but gotta do it. It's the way you can stop spreading everything around. Rinse off thoroughly. I'll take care of the eggshell in a little bit. Little tip, do not throw eggshells down your garbage disposal. They do not grind up very well. Dry off. Okay. So, that's part of my liquid ingredient. And now, most cookie recipes that you see, it uses a technique called the creaming method. What that means is that we beat together our butter and our sugar till it's soft, it's light, it's airy, the sugar dissolves. We're gonna be preparing something called a brown butter, also known in French as a beurre noisette. And what that is we're gonna take this butter and we're gonna cook it until those milk solids start browning up. They start to caramelize, or you get the Maillard reaction because it's protein. And it's also gonna cook off the water. So we need, you can see on the side here, it has these little handy dandy measuring tools. So we need about 1, 2, 3/4 of a cup. So I'm gonna take my knife, just cut it straight down to measure. Make sure you get the paper off. You don't want to be eating paper in your recipe. All right. Then you can unplug that. Then we're going to take this over to our burner. We're going to set this on medium heat. Okay. The whole point is I don't want to put it on high heat. I don't want to try and fry it. I want this to gently cook and melt. And as it melts, it's going to start changing color. So we'll come back after this cooks and I'll show you the color change, and then we'll go forward mixing our recipe. All right. Alrighty guys, we're back. So my butter has cooked. Now you can see in the pot here that I got all that butter. Now to show you the difference of what a brown butter looks like, I'm gonna pour this right into here. But see how it's that kind of golden tawny color? And it really has this beautiful nutty aroma. A lot of that water is cooked out of there. So I did add a little bit extra. Now I let it cool for just a couple minutes. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna add that melted butter into our sugar. Okay? Now this would normally be the step where you have the solid butter and you use that creaming method. So we're taking this, And we're mixing this all together. I don't want any lumps. Okay? I want it to be nice and smooth. All right. And we're also going to go ahead and add in that 1 egg and that 1 egg yolk. Adding that in. All right. So see, that's all starting to come together. Turn up the speed just a little bit. Alright, so as you see, that's all starting to combine. And I need one other thing to this as well. I need some vanilla extract. And you could make your own at home. If you have some vanilla beans and you have like a high proof alcohol like vodka or Everclear, you could take those vanilla beans and soak them, or you could put them in with sugar to make a vanilla scented sugar as well. So what we need is 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So 1 and 2. The vanilla extract is one of those things, you can just buy the cheaper stuff, but if you learn how to make your own, you end up with so much better flavors and everything. Good. So all this is going in. All that lovely, lovely, lovely flavor. Yeah. And then, turn that off. We have our dry bowl here with our dry ingredients. We're just going to go ahead, pour our liquid stuff into our dry bowl. Use a spatula to get everything out of there. Don't want to waste any of that goodness. And my wife is waiting to get a spoon and get some of the stuff left in the bowl as I scrape it, so I always leave at least a little bit for her, but otherwise you want a nice clean bowl. We'll set that there for her. Okay. So then we're going to go ahead with our mixer, mix this up. I know it looks a little weird, a little crumbly, but trust me, this will all come together. It's going to be kind of a thicker dough. This is why we have that flour. Now, I know it looks a little crumbly, but if we take some, we can kind of crumble it together like this. So you want a nice soft ball. And then we need the most important part here. So we're making chocolate chip cookies, so we need our chocolate chips. Then we're gonna take this. I have Ghirardelli semi-dark 60% cocoa. Now, cocoa content means how much cocoa solids are in there. So the higher the cocoa content, the more bitter the chocolate is. Like dark chocolates have quite a lot of that cocoa in there, so they're very bitter, not very sweet. This is semi-sweet. So it has a little bitterness to it, but it also has a little bit of sugar. Milk chocolate is paler, they add milk in. We're just gonna go ahead and add, well, hey, go extra 1, somewhere around 2 cups roughly. Trust me, it's gonna be delightful. We're gonna go ahead and mix all this in. I might need to add a little bit more melted butter just to add up for the butter that the moisture that I took out. So just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna go ahead and take a couple tablespoons more butter. Natto, get out of the kitchen, okay? Natto is my dog. She's always underfoot. She's very small. Thank you. And my children. We have like a zoo here. So I'm going to take another couple of tablespoons of butter and just melt this. As always, get the paper off. We'll just nuke this for about 50-60 seconds to melt a bit. While we wait, always clean up after yourselves, get rid of my dirty dishes. I always put my knives on the side of the sink just because I don't want anybody reaching in there and hurting themselves on a sharp knife underwater. Kitchen safety, folks. So always, or never put knives underwater, under soapy water. Okay? Put everything away. Are you done with this, dear?
Mm-hmm. I am.
Cool. There. Go ahead and grab our butter. There we go. And always be careful when you're microwaving butter. I've had this happen a couple times. If you heat it for too long, it actually blows up. The water starts boiling underneath, and you just hear this like pop. Okay? There we go. So now, that's also going to help melt out some of those chips. So we're going to mix this all up. Oh no, man overboard. Okay. But you can see that it's starting to tighten up a little bit. Now this dough, once we get it to this stage where it looks a little funky, I'll admit it. First time I've ever made this recipe. Hey, you're on an experimental voyage with me as well. Okay. If your beater gets all clogged up, just turn it on high, but don't lift it out of the bowl. Otherwise, you're gonna end up flinging stuff everywhere. Just pick it up out of your mix and set it to the side a little bit. So these are going in the sink. We're just gonna use a spatula. Just kind of make sure that we get all this mixed up, folded in there. And now, if I were to take this and just cook it off right away, these would spread out all over my cookie tray. They would just end up being kind of puddles of butter. We don't want that. So this needs to go into the fridge or the freezer. For the fridge, at least 2 to 3 hours or overnight. You could throw it in the freezer till it gets soft. So we'll come back after this chills a bit. We'll shape it up. We'll get it baking, and I'll see you in a bit.